Hello, today I will talk about the love story between a young Yakuza boss, Ranmaru, and a charming Italian ship captain, Alberto, from the anime, A Foreign Love Affair. The first episode starts with Ranmaru walking around on a cruise ship, dressed in a kimono. He catches the eye of many strangers, especially a tall blonde man. His name is Alberto Valentino, who is generally fascinated by Japanese culture, and he's really happy to see Ran, dressed like this, especially when he hears that he's also having a Japanese wedding on the ship. Cultural aside, Alberto seems to admire the Japanese foreigner a bit too much. Back to Ranmaru, he's on this cruise ship because he's getting married, and his future wife wants to enjoy the sights of Italy, on their honeymoon. This alliance is an arranged marriage, which Ran does not like, but neither does his future wife, Caro. They grew up together, and Caro sees Ranmaru more like an annoying little brother. And both, of course, that are always arguing. Even now, on the ship, Caro is angry that Ranmaru has dressed in a kimono, and people are staring and laughing. The two's fight evolves, proving once again how unsuited they are for each other. But both not having much of a choice, they need to go ahead with the wedding. Later, when Ranmaru is walking around the ship's restaurant, to calm down, some foreign men also laugh at the way he's dressed. And Ran, already sick of this topic, takes his anger on the men, which leads to a small confrontation. But someone steps in and stops the conflict. Alberto Valentino. He sends the men away, then looks at the Japanese foreigner with a serious look. Ranmaru feels weird, being watched so intensely, and asks Alberto what's wrong. Alberto suddenly smiles, and touches Ran's hand, confessing that he has been to Japan many times, but never met a man as brave as him. Ranmaru is quite reluctant to this volume of energy coming from Alberto, but he doesn't get to say much, because someone in the ship's crew needs Alberto urgently. The wedding ceremony passes quickly, the two spouses just wanting it to end faster. Then, how was expected, an argument arises, in which Caro kicks Ran out of the room. Disappointed, the man goes to get a drink. But he doesn't stay too calm for long, because a group of Japanese men come to disturb him. One of these men is Ryuji Gondo, a big admirer of Caro. And he challenges Ranmaru, out of jealousy. Their small talk quickly turns into something more serious, and Ran wants to get justice for the insulting words that were addressed to him. However, once again Alberto intervenes, like a guardian angel, to stop the confrontation. But this time, Ran wants to go on, because he's a real man, and he can take care of himself. Alberto understands, but still decides to join Ranmaru as well, to help him. The two make a perfect team, and win immediately. Then they get to know each other officially, and they go to talk more at a table. Their conversation leads to many compliments, which they say to each other, and they start to grow closer. This thrilling wedding night leaves Ranmaru a little dizzy, and he decides to rest in Alberto's room. And what happens there, you have to see with your own eyes. After this night, Ran wakes up with a big migraine, and confused that he doesn't see Alberto in the room. Caro comes after Ran, and tells him that it's time to disembark in Italy. Ranmaru leaves with his people. And upon exiting the ship, he sees Alberto, dressed as a ship captain. Ranmaru and Alberto have a short chat, where Alberto tells him that it was a great honor to meet him. But he is a man of the sea, and he cannot keep Ranmaru. Unfortunately, the two seem to be going to separate ways at the end of episode 1. But not much passes, and in the second episode, fate brings them together again. During the honeymoon, Ranmaru loses his wife, and his people, and he's left alone, on the side of an Italian country road. While he is there, he begins to think about what happened between him and Alberto, and the fact that he will probably never see him again. At the same time, a car passes by Ran. And in it is Alberto Valentino, who immediately stops and helps Ran. Alberto takes Ran to his house. There, Ranmaru notices how passionate Alberto is about Japanese culture, as the whole house is decorated in traditional Japanese style. Alberto tries to cheer Ranmaru up, and offers to give him an Italian massage. And though the two seem to be getting closer, but Ran falls asleep. And Alberto is happy to be able to enjoy his gorgeous sleeping face. The next day, the two arrive in Rome, and Alberto goes to look for the hotel, where Ranmaru's family is staying. While Ran waits for this situation to be resolved, Ruji Gondo appears next to him. He laughs at him again, that he's like a pathetic lost child, and that Karo deserves a much better man. Apparently Ranmaru's family, being very worried about their boss's disappearance, put an ad in the newspaper, even a reward. And Gondo thought to make some money, and bring Ranmaru home. But Ran tells him to mind his own business, and to leave him alone. The situation escalates again, and Alberto arrives just in time to help Ranmaru. Alberto actually gets a little carried away with the adrenaline rush, gets a little too close to Ran, and becomes a little too affectionate, which surprises Ran. While this situation is happening, it seems that a group of boys notices Ranmaru, and they seem to be planning something strange. Later, Ran manages to reach the hotel where his family is staying. Alberto seems to have finished his work with Ran, and he's trying to go unnoticed. Ranmaru quickly goes after him, and Alberto pulls him into the elevator. There, a more serious discussion takes place between the two, about their feelings. Ranmaru wants to keep Alberto close, in his life, as a friend. But Alberto explains that he can't do that, he has much more passionate feelings, and gives him a demonstration. Although Ranmaru doesn't seem too bothered by this demonstration, the problem arises when someone enters in the elevator. And the two are seen by Gondo, who has already seen them together earlier anyway. But now he is arguing with Ranmaru, and tells him that he has lost respect for him as a man. When Ranmaru hears this, it hurts his ego quite a bit, as he values how he is seen as a man in his community. Ran pushes Gondo out of his way, and leaves. Alberto tries to stop him, but Ran tells him that he's a man, and nothing will ever happen between them. Alberto understands, and gives him space by moving on. Ranmaru leans against a wall, overwhelmed by the situation. He surprisingly finds a note, from Alberto, in his coat, probably placed in the elevator earlier. The note says where Ran can see Alberto in that evening. Thinking about this note for a while, Ranmaru goes to that specific location, and looks inside, at Alberto, who is waiting for him. Ran is a complete mess, he doesn't know how to control his feelings, so he decides to give up, and not to meet Alberto. But as Ranmaru leaves, two unknown girls lure him into a trap. It turns out that these girls were set up by the suspicious men from earlier, to lure Ran into a room. And from there, the men took him on a cruise ship, to sell him at an auction. Fortunately, the two girls had remorse, and went to the restaurant where Alberto was waiting. Girls started talking about what had happened, and Alberto heard immediately and questioned them. Then began a mad race, in which Alberto, driven by love, used all his possible resources, and found out what ship Ranmaru was on, and went by helicopter to rescue him. Ranmaru, in all this time, fought with his captors, and tried to run away from them. But being quite dizzy, running away became difficult. The coincidence made Ruji Gondo to be on this ship, and to find out about the situation, and try to help Ran to hide. Ranmaru, still not in his right mind, pushed Gondo away, and ran. The kidnappers found him, and at the same time, Alberto appeared behind them. So he managed to save him in time. Ranmaru being very disturbed by all the happenings, and by Alberto's approach. He began to open his soul, and consider the feelings he also has for Alberto. The two share a few loving moments together. They then run off, together in a helicopter, to be together, at least for a while. In the ending of the manga, the two still face small challenges, but they will find ways to stay together. A Foreign Love Affair is a Japanese manga, created by Ayano Yamane, and has 2 episodes that have been adapted.